my mom works with her friends, her family, people that she's known and built relationships for 40 years. So that was kind of like the stepping stone for me starting my real estate career. I worked with a lot of her friends and her friends' kids, and that's kind of like how I started my base. I think, the way I work is I don't convince people to buy houses. I'm an advisor, I think. So if you want to buy a house next year and we'll be running around to a million different houses, making a million different offers, like I'm here for that journey too. Yeah. But I'll let I've been putting it on my Instagram stories. I've been emailing it out to my database that now, you could grab an opportunity if you want one.
Thank you so much. Here we are with Kristi Gorski. I'm very excited today. Kristi and I have known each other for a little bit, and I've always been excited to learn more about her business. She does an amazing job on social, building a business. So I'm super excited to have her here today. So Kristi, can you just tell me a little bit about how long you've been in the business and just a brief introduction?
Yeah, I have been in the business for 8 years. I started as a buyer's agent for my mom's team, and I did that for about 4 years. And since 2020, I have been a solo agent, still working with my mom. She's my managing broker at DPG Real Estate in Lisle.
Wonderful. So obviously, working with a family member always carries some unique gifts, but also challenges. What it's been like to work with your mom? Obviously, you've seen her over the years growing up in the business a lot. So what was the transition like when you started working with her?
Starting my career together, she had such a well-established business. And I don't know, at first it was pretty fun because it was referral based. So everybody I was working with, I kind of already knew.
Yeah.
So my mom works with her friends, her family, people that she's known and built relationships for 40 years. So that was kind of like the stepping stone for me starting my real estate career. I worked with a lot of her friends and her friends' kids, and that's kind of like how I started my base.
That's great. So growing up, obviously, you've been exposed to real estate, a lot because your mom's always been in the business. Did you always know you were going to be in real estate at some point, or was there did you try to do anything else, or was it always real estate?
No, it was not always real estate. Like most people, real estate's my second career.
Yeah.
So I started my career in retail, actually. So I opened up a boutique out of college. I worked in retail all through. I mean, my first job was in retail at TJ Maxx. I worked at the Gap after that. And then in college, I started working for a boutique. And then after college, I franchised the boutique. So I stuck with retail thinking that was what I was going to do. But real estate sucked me in a couple years into that. So here I am.
I know. I always say, like, you never plan to be in the real estate industry. We all kind of find our way here some way, somehow. By mistake. I mean, it's not like anyone graduates college and says, I want to be a realtor or a lender. We all kind of find there. So I remember when I first met you, you were, obviously, I think you were at Northwestern, right? Is that?
No, I went to Mizzou.
Mizzou, but didn't you have
my store was in,
okay.
My store was in Evanston. Okay. So I opened up a store in Evanston. The model of the boutique was to be in college towns. It was like a college town store. It was really good price point, and it was kind of like, we'd only carry 6 of everything, so your friends weren't all wearing the same clothes as you. So when I came to Chicago, my husband was in law school, and I wanted to be close to the city, but in a college town. I wasn't thinking like ISU, U of I. Like I was thinking, we're going to live in Chicago. And so Evanston was like the closest college town for me.
So obviously starting a business, right out of college is not something most people do.
Yeah.
How much did you learn doing that applies to what you're doing today? Because I feel like there's probably a lot of lessons that you can take from that experience that you apply, even today.
Yeah, I mean, I think retail is a really good stepping stone into real estate, although we just sell more expensive things now. But I mean, putting the clients first is number one. They were literally putting food on my table. Like now I'm a 2-income household, but when I was 24 years old, it's like every dress I sold that was like how I paid my bills. It was a big lesson to treat people well, and customer service became the forefront of everything I did. Marketing, I learned everything about digital marketing by launching a store, because I launched an e-commerce store. So I started an email list. I started my social media. Everything I did online digitally was all for the store. So then when I was launching a new business, which was my real estate career, like I had all this groundwork already. And that's like really where my passion for digital marketing started.
And I remember, following you, and we all do social media now, but I
Yeah.
feel like you were really out there from the very beginning, and everything that we do now is really what you were doing previously. So how has that evolved over the years, and how much of it, because obviously we all struggle with how much time do we spend on social media? How much do we, but how has that transitioned from when you first got in till now, as far as how much time you spend, working on social media? Because it can suck you in quickly.
I mean, it does suck you in, but I like it. I mean, I like spending time in the social media world. I think it's really fun. It's definitely a creative outlet for me. So I don't mind like putting in the work there. But at the same time, it gets easier. You don't have to spend like an hour editing something. Now I can like pretty much like shoot something in the morning and it's up in an hour. Because your brain just like works like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, since the beginning, I've always tried to be really creative and do, put the content I put out there is really important to me. It's like my portfolio. So what I put out, I think a lot about it, and I spend time like curating it. So,
well, it does come across it's your brand. It's very personal.
Yeah.
It's not the same stuff that you would see from a lot of other realtors or social media people, which I always love that you do, because you have stuff that I even I enjoy, or I share. I know my wife follows you. She always says all the wonderful listings that you show, or all the background with you and your family. So it is something that I think draws people in and helps you stay top of mind without being too salesy, which I think you do a good of that, because so much of social media for our industry has gotten very, we all have the same templates, and I always feel like yours is very unique, and you do a very good job of that. On that, obviously today's market has been, obviously a challenge for some. You have buyers who are worried about, where interest rates are or home prices. You have a lot of sellers. What's the biggest challenge when you speak to a buyer or seller that you're seeing right now that you really feel like you're in a position to help them through?
I think the biggest challenge is the change in the market right now. I think buyers and sellers don't know what the expectation is. I also think realtors don't really know what the expectation is.
Yeah.
When you're submitting an offer, you don't know how competitive it really is, truly. Agents are used to being able to present these amazing offers, and now they're having to give their seller clients like a little bit of a harsh reality, and maybe it caught up to the agent like faster than they realized, especially if you don't have a ton of listings, you don't have like a ton of data to bounce off, like, oh, all my listings are slow. No, you kind of probably launched your listing expecting to get multiple offers like we were, 2 months ago. So I think setting the expectations with the sellers about where the market is right now is difficult. And I think buyers, same, advising buyers like how strong we need to be, like what is the current pulse of the market. I think we're in a little bit of a standstill right now.
And do you feel a lot of people on that standstill, I think is a great word. Do you feel a lot of people are obviously, mindful of an election, interest rates rising, and say, you know what, I'm just going to kind of put this off and kind of waiting. And then that is obviously a challenge as well, because we see a lot of people that have done that over the last couple of years, and home prices have continued to move higher. So waiting isn't always that. So do you find yourself having a lot more, consultations, on the market than you ever had before?
For sure, definitely. I mean, talking about the market is always an important part of talking to my clients, but right now, the education on what's going on in the market is crucial. I think it being the end of the year, it's like a natural time where people are very distracted. We have an election thrown in. This is like a very hot issue for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So the need or want to put in something very stressful like buying a home, I don't know if it's a priority for most people right now. I think there's big opportunity in the market. Like I keep looking at my husband being like, why aren't we buying something right now? But at the same time, I'm not surprised that people are like putting their attention elsewhere right now.
So opportunity, because I feel the same way. I've been saying to a lot of buyers, I kind of feel like even before the election, I mean, I said it, I did a reel And I have two buyers that I've worked with, one over a year and one almost 2 years. They got their offers accepted. They were looking in very specific areas, but finally got an offer accepted. They didn't overpay.
Yep.
They didn't have to do anything crazy. They stuck to what they were trying to do, and they finally got their offer accepted.
Right.
And that just goes to show that, to your point, that now is such a great opportunity. Is that something that you're trying to get people to capitalize on? Or are you more, you kind of provide the data and you let them kind of just make up their mind what's the best option? Because it's always tough.
I think, the way I work is I don't convince people to buy houses. I'm an advisor, I think. So if you want to buy a house next year and we'll be, running around to a million different houses, making a million different offers, like I'm here for that journey too. Yeah. But I'll let you know, I've been putting it on my Instagram stories. I've been emailing it out to my database that now, you could grab an opportunity if you want one.
Yes.
But some people don't want one. Some people want, they want to know what everything is going to be, how it's going to be laid out.
Yeah.
So if you're a spring buyer because of that, so be it, know.
Yeah.
But, when spring comes, I may also be having tough conversations of what you want was October,
Exactly. Yeah.
So we'll see.
I know. So what do you see next year? I know, obviously there's going to be a lot of people that put this off with the election. We see it all the time. And this time of the year, we see it where people are kind of, will take a step back. Even so, more so this year, we've had a lot going on. I mean, we have home prices at record highs, interest rates. It seems like we have all these things that are lining up. Okay. So then you have a lot of people sitting on the sidelines. Me personally, like I'm more worried about home prices going up than I am about interest rates, just because of the lack of inventory in Illinois. Have you seen inventory improving or at a level where we were in 2019, or are you still not seeing it where we were?
I mean, inventory is definitely improving.
Yeah.
I do see inventory improving.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's at a level that makes a difference at this point.
Yeah.
I think if the way this past year went, spring, we're going to be in another multiple offer situation.
Yeah.
Unless we get, a significant more homes on the market.
And what do you think is the catalyst that would get more homes on the market? Obviously, interest rates. Obviously, there's the lock-in effect. But is it more, how much do you think it's uncertainty in the market versus obviously interest rates, or is it really just a combination of everything?
Yeah, I mean, so my space is like the buy-sell, right? Yeah. So in my world, people are very landlocked. Like people are trying to buy their dream home for their family. Maybe they're in their first house and they've outgrown it, but like they're not going to push their children out on the streets while they house hunt, So my clientele is all waiting for that, second home that their children can grow up in. And that's that catalyst where it's like that needs to come on the market before their home comes on the market. But their home is in that perfect price point, that first time home buyer price point, So it's like that their home that they are currently living in is the one that we need, the market needs.
Exactly.
So,
and I deal with this a lot too, and I think it's just such a problem. Is it's easy to sell a house.
Yeah.
It's very difficult, and you're finding your dream home.
Yeah.
And if you have a house to sell, obviously there's a challenge there, and we have these conversations all the time. And I think there's a lot of pent up demand for sellers as well, as they just want to be able to line up their purchase.
Right.
And it's very difficult to do. So how much has your process changed over the years? Because as inventory has gone down and the market has become more of a professionals market, how much of your process is different from what it was before? Because before, people were like, oh my God, I need to buy, rates are 3%.
Right.
This home just came on the market and it was like a race. We were order takers.
When I bought my house.
Exactly. So we were order takers, and it was like everything was really fast. Then kind of the market shift a little bit. So how much has your business shifted as far as how much you have to spend, face to face with a client compared to what you had to do before?
So everything starts with a buyer's consultation now. Like NAR has a lot to do with that, but that has been a shift in my process because laying out the groundwork of how this process goes is really important to a buyer in such like a high stakes situation, especially when they're moving their family. So I guess I've put a more professional spin on how, I deal with clients. being an order taker is like a hustle. Like that's
Yeah.
very hard. And sometimes you don't even get an opportunity to have like a full conversation with your client, somebody who you consider your client. It's like, I've talked to you for 3 minutes.
Yeah,
Like that's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So now, I'm a little bit more of a hunter now. Like I have to go find the house. So because of that, I need to talk to you for at least 30 minutes. I need to know what you need.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because I think that's great. So, because I don't think a lot of people understand what that means as far as a realtor, like what's on the market, what's not on the market, private network,
Yeah.
being a hunter to go out and get, because that's what makes you different. Then, this is why the market is so different and why you need to meet with someone
Right.
face to face. Can you talk a little bit about what that looks like?
About going to find properties.
Yeah.
There's a lot of data out there, right? So you can go mine the data and try to find houses that are, they fit the criteria. The people have lived there 20 years. Their mortgage is down to nothing. You can kind of find houses and properties that fit the mold of what your client is looking for. I keep my location pretty narrow these days, so I can often like drive neighborhoods, and when I find like a cul-de-sac that I'm like, this is it, like this is for my client, and so I'll hand deliver things to the homeowners. Word of mouth. Like that Downers Grove area parents page, like people post that all the time. I mean, you just have to be looking, like you just have to know where to look. People love chatting that their mom is about to sell their house. Like people love talking about that. So I always have my ears open, and I'm always trying to make connections for my clients.
So this is a great point, because this is what I always talk about, manufacturing inventory. So there's the inventory is there, and there's plenty of buyers and sellers who are on the internet every night, and they're looking to see homes hit the market, and they assume that is the inventory.
Yeah.
And where the value is of reaching out to you in advance is to be able to have access so you know what they're looking for. And it may not be something that materializes immediately, okay?
No, it never will.
But having what people are looking for, because you may have a listing that comes up that would be a perfect fit. And I think that's where people make the biggest mistake, is assuming everything that they see online is where the inventory is. And it really is not. Like there is a whole nother market. And a lot of times homes are selling even before, in the private network. And so can you talk a little bit about how important that is for a buyer or a seller to reach out to you ahead of time to have that conversation? I mean, do you have actual situations where someone's reached out and you found a property that they would have never seen? Yeah.
So, I mean, currently I, just had a brunch for my birthday. And so I just had, 25 women over at my house, and everybody's chatting and somebody's saying, oh, they're looking for a property. And then, on this past Tuesday, I went on a listing appointment, and they're not selling until next year. But I'm like, I know somebody, So those are very real conversations. I mean, people come to me to talk real estate. So we are like, we have a lot in our brains, realtors, because people do want to come to us to gossip about real estate. So
I mean, and at parties, I always feel like people are always asking us, what's the market like?
I say it's my party trick. It's my party trick. It's like people want to say like, oh, how much is my house worth? It's like, I just walked in the front door.
Exactly. Well, and but I think that's, obviously you enjoy those conversations where some people do not. And it just goes to show why you're so passionate about the business that you're in, is because you enjoy those conversations, you welcome it, and it obviously leads to business, and it helps you, more importantly, find properties for people that otherwise would not be there. And I feel like that's the biggest secret in the current market, is being able to identify and manufacture business, because that's where professionals come in.
Yes.
And it's the days of people reaching out to us and saying, hey, Kristi, I want you to sell my house. They're there.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of other business that we have to kind of manufacture and find based on the conversations that we have. And the more conversations that we have, the more those opportunities exist. But if you're not having those conversations, you're never going to get it. So you talked a little bit about some of the groups. I know you're very involved in some locally here. How, obviously that helps socially. But knowing that you're a business owner, how has that helped you being a business owner to kind of have these other groups and letting people know what you do? Because obviously, one of the biggest things most new people in this business struggle with is telling people, hey, I'm a realtor,
right,
without sounding like, you're a
Yeah.
realtor.
I don't tell people I'm a realtor. People come to me and say, "Hey, aren't you a realtor?" So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't join an organization to get leads. Like, I hate that.
Yeah.
That's like, oh, I hate that.
Those lead groups or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like, don't join the church group because you want business. Don't join the whatever, to get business. That's
Yeah.
not why you're doing it. Join because you're going to enjoy yourself and you're going to make connections, like whatever the reason why. It shouldn't be leading with business, but you'll attract business
Yeah.
just because you're building that trust factor. You're creating friendships. If you join like for me, I am in the Downers Grove Area Newcomers group, and I was on the board for a long time, like the past 5 years, just different positions on the board. People interacted with me and realized I was competent, I'm organized,
Yeah.
These weren't like real estate related activities, but I could hold my position well. I could, organize whatever we needed to do for the events.
Well, people got to see you in a different environment, and they realize that people want to work with people that they know, like, and trust.
For sure.
And that's a great opportunity
and
for
that
you
they
to
have their
show
head
that.
on straight, and they can do the job at hand. I don't think I ever got business because they were like, "Oh, Christy is very organized, and that's what I want in a realtor." It's like, no, but I didn't make a bad impression, and then they also knew I was a realtor. And the only reason they probably really knew I was a realtor is because of social media. So it goes back to that.
Yeah.
So you're friends on them with social media because you just went to a brunch together. So now you're adding everybody on Facebook that you're just tagged in a photo with, 20 new women, and I'm adding them all on Facebook and I'm adding them all on Instagram. And then I don't ever tell them I'm a realtor. They come to me and say, "Oh, you're a realtor, right?"
Yeah. I mean, it's so great because I think so many new realtors struggle with how to make connections.
Yeah.
And everything you just said seems so basic, but
Very
yet,
basic.
but so many people don't do it.
Yeah.
And it's such a great way to meet people and to become, present and be able to have a presence in the community, which goes a really long way.
Yeah.
And you're having a lot of fun. I
Right.
mean, that's the most important thing. It's not work.
It's not work.
Yeah.
I'm truly just living my life.
Yeah.
I'm joining clubs that I think I would enjoy as a human, not as a realtor, not as a business owner. And I think that is why it kind of all comes together for me.
Yeah.
I think people who are new in the business need to realize that is not a shortcut. That is a very long game. It's like
absolutely,
because you're just building relationships with people. That's all
it's not,
it is.
the easy button is I'm going to go get leads and I'm going to do it. So I've been saying this a lot with other realtors is I saw a lot of people relationship based for a period of time. Then I saw a lot of people go to more lead based. And now I see a lot of people going back to, more relationships.
Yeah.
You've always been in the relationship game. You've never ventured outside of that. Is there anything or any reason in particular, or is this just what you're passionate about? Is it that easy?
It's easier for me.
Yeah.
I mean, like, cold calling is disgusting.
Oh yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible. I mean, it's horrible.
I don't want to get yelled at. Like, I like the warm conversations so much better than the cold calls. I don't want to get hung up on. That's not a good use of my time. It doesn't make me feel good. It doesn't fill my cup, So it's like if I'm going to do lead gen, which I don't think, community activities are really lead gen, but that's where I get my, my clients.
Obviously, you had your mom too in the business.
Yeah.
So she's very relationship, oriented and had this, following, and you guys always did. I mean, that's how, when I met your mom, she, you guys used to have this great back to school party that I still tell people all about. That was just such a great, it's like the best marketing I think I've ever seen. That was so much fun for everyone to have, but it was genius because it was something you enjoyed.
Right.
So how much have you, taken from seeing your mom do it, but then how much have you then kind of said, I want to do this my own way?
You're right. Yeah.
Because I'm sure there's something.
I mean, like, I'm pulling one right out of her hat. I mean, that's everything I know about creating relationships is all from her, though.
Yeah.
I mean, she's like the queen of that. So my mom is whatever she does, she runs it. Like, she's in all these different organizations and she runs them.
Yeah.
So her network is very large and she creates really good personal relationships with people. Now, the party side of things, that's just fun. I mean, that's just good fun. But when you know so many people, guess what? The guest list is huge.
Exactly, yeah.
And I just love the idea of that she threw that at her house, because I think like inviting people into your world is really important. I think that like humanizes you. Throwing things at your office is fun, but it's fine. It's like fun to show off your office because you're so proud of your office. But I think having something like at your home, it's like that turns like a client into a friend,
And that's exactly where I wanted to go with this, because I thought it was so unique. Is like everyone does pies or they do certain things. Like this was like her like
signature party,
client appreciation party. And again, just so everyone knows, so you would throw a party at your house, okay, and it was the first day of school.
Yep.
So everyone would drop their kids off at school, and then they would go hang out.
Come straight to my mom's house.
Come straight to your mom's house. They had live music. I mean, it was, I attended.
From Nashville.
Yeah, from Nashville. I was lucky enough to attend, and it was. I remember the first time I was there, I was just like, "This is the coolest party," because everyone, again, was your mom's friend. It was like it was such a great way that had nothing to do with business. There was nothing about real estate. It was all about, hey, I want to host you at my house. And I just think it's a great lesson in how to connect with your clients and make it more about friendships than it is anything to do with business.
For sure.
And I think people responded to that, and I thought it was genius.
Yeah, I think like the reality is we don't transact very often in our lives. We just are selling houses a couple of times.
Yeah.
So not everything has to be about real estate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. So the other thing that I respect about you immensely is, you are an amazing mother. Okay. You're always posting things that you're doing with your kids. And how have you make it look very easy. Okay. And I'm sure it's not, so I don't want to minimize it, but you make it look very easy because I know you do a tremendous business. You are obviously there, you're a wife, you have all these things all these hats that you have to, how do you manage all that? And I know you have a great team around you, but how do you personally, kind of not feel guilty if you're over here or, vice versa? Because that can be, difficult to manage.
Yeah. I mean, that has been a rocky road, I'd say, but I feel like I am probably in the best place I've been, like, my whole motherhood so far. But, that was building blocks. I'd say where I am now, I do have people helping me, but I also am much better about the things that are important to me. There's no work that could get in the way of that.
Yeah.
So like I always do drop off in the morning for school. That's like very important to me. But then when I get home, it's work time,
Yeah.
But then the kids come home at around 2:30, and I don't work a lot between like 2:30 and 4, even though we do have help at home with childcare. Like I'm around, and they're always on my lap and they're always there. So
but that's good that you can spend that time, because I think that's where most people struggle, is they feel like that we get pulled into this business where everything needs to be done immediately.
Yep.
And everyone's, mindset is, I need an answer right away.
Yes.
And when you can set those boundaries and you build a business where it doesn't need it, because the reality is there's no emergencies.
There's no emergencies.
Yeah.
When my kids are going to bed and I'm reading books and I'm also texting, it's like, why am I, it's 7:45. Like there's nothing that anybody needs me for. But that took a long time for me to navigate through. I'd say that's newer for me in my real estate career than not. I'd say when I started, my career has, gone up as I've increased children too.
Yeah.
So with one kid, my business was okay, but not anywhere where it is now. So I think my hustle was probably a lot harder with my first and then into my second. My second kid I had like during COVID. And 2020 to 2022, I worked 7 days a week. I really did.
Yeah.
And then I had my third and then I kind of stopped because COVID, those years, I got burned out.
Yeah.
And I had Lillian December 2022. And I took 6 months off.
Yeah.
So I was like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And I had a really bad year.
Yeah. But was it good
And
for you to take that
it
time
was
away?
so good.
Yeah, yeah. Did you find that, being away really allowed you to get to where you are now?
I mean, I needed also like the reset. I mean, I didn't have a banner year at all. Like I had a pretty low year,
Yeah.
2023. And I always say it's Lillian's fault. And she's going to be to blame for
Yeah,
a lot
yeah,
more things in my future because she's like a hard kid.
yeah,
But I don't regret it. Like
yeah,
I needed to like shift and stop. And I, into 2024, picked right back up.
yeah.
And I'm right where I was in like 2022.
That's great.
So now with boundaries, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, and so I think that's really important for all of us because I think that line is, a lot of us have home offices.
Yeah.
Again, I have one, and you don't want to hear me complaining about having one, but my sister-in-law has 3 kids, and she always probably rolls her eyes at Jen and I because we're always like, because we're busy and we're, but once sports starts and you have all these, you don't want to miss out on anything.
No, I won't miss out on
Exactly.
anything.
And wait till you start meeting all the family. That's like a whole nother, that's another group, for all the sports and
Yeah.
all that. I mean, that's like a whole nother
Right.
area. But like once you can identify those boundaries and you can really, figure that out, I think it's very eye-opening for all of us. But I think a lot of that requires you to build the business that you have.
Yeah.
Because people want you and they're willing to wait for you when it's, when they see you online and they see all the things that you do versus when you're working leads and you don't have the same flexibility because people don't know you and they need an answer right away. And if you don't, they're calling somewhere else. And I think that's the beauty of the business that you've built is you've given yourself the boundaries, but you're also working with people who respect it. And that's a big thing that a lot of us struggle with is, hey, you don't answer the phone, someone else's will, but people really want to work with you. Was that something that you had to work at, or is that just kind of a non-negotiable for your business and the people you work with?
I think I've been working on the idea of attraction and trying to get the clients that I want to work with to be the ones calling me.
Yeah.
So I think just what you said, I'm not a person that cold calls. I'm not a person that really talks to people that don't already know me. That is probably because I've spent time trying to put out, I don't want to call it an image, but how I'm branding myself. I'm a mom. Yeah, I live in Downers Grove. I have a family. I have a busy family. I think I've been working on attracting people who can fit in with that type of person.
I love the word attraction. You said 2 words that I say all the time. My team would roll my eyes if I said it again, but attraction and education are 2 things I've been using, and you've mentioned both of those. And I think attraction is so important. And I don't know if everyone fully appreciates that, but it's, basically instead of you going out trying to recruit people, you're attracting people that you want to work with.
Right.
And we always have in our business where you're like, this is my ideal client.
Yeah.
And you're always like, this is who I want to work with. But when you're attracting people, you don't need to worry about that because you're attracting those people to you and you don't need to do anything else. And I think it's really important because I feel like technology can't replace that. AI can't replace that. AI is not going to be at your women's groups or your, your mom groups or anything like that. Like you're building a business that's sustainable regardless of the market. And it's really important. So it's awesome that you do that. One other thing I wanted to ask you about that though, on attraction is how much of it do you feel, was that a process when you got into the business? Like did you have situations where you were just working with clients just because you wanted a client?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And then how do you feel like you are almost interviewing people in a way of whether it's a good fit for you?
Yes. So when I first, and I don't think there's anything wrong with when you first get in the business, like take the clients.
Yeah.
I actually do think that that's fine because you need experience.
Yeah.
And you honestly need experience with people that aren't a good fit with you too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say when I first got into the business, I was a buyer's agent for my mom.
Yeah.
So anybody she would hand me, I couldn't be picky. You know, it's like, I didn't have an ideal client. My ideal client was somebody who got to the closing table and I got a paycheck, it was like, I'll work with you, So now I wouldn't say I'm as picky, but I just don't get very many leads like that anymore. So my business has just shifted, but I don't turn people away necessarily, but those people, I still do take a lot of my mom's leads, like her clients on a referral basis, but I have built my own as well. And the ones that I've built are just they're not random people.
Yeah.
So,
and then I know you're passionate about the business. What would you say if someone was coming into the business, like a newer agent. Okay.
I always scare people away.
I know, but I think this is really important because I think a lot of people look at your social media, they look at your business, and they're like, I want that.
Yeah.
Okay. And they think it's easy.
Yeah.
And they don't see all the, I always say in this office or looking at, your business, it's a blessing and a curse. You look at it, you can follow your line, and you're like, oh, wow, I want to do that. But behind the scenes,
yes, behind the scenes,
there's a lot of like pain, there's a lot of struggle, there's a lot of failure. Like, what does that look like for someone that wants to get in the business? Like, what would be your, something you would say?
So people like come in my DMs all the time and ask me this, and I always like scare them away. I feel like nobody has ever gotten their license.
That's great.
But yeah, it's hard.
You should consider that, really special that people are actually reaching out to you. That means you're attracting. Yeah, that's your attraction. Yeah.
But it does look easier than it is, and we are business owners, and I think people don't understand how we get clients.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they understand like the hustle it is, and you're constantly talking to people. You're constantly putting things on social media. We're just out there. We're billboards. We're marketing. We're marketing people, But the thing that most people come to me and ask about getting into real estate is about the hours. And I don't think people, you.
I know.
You send these texts that say, I'm available until 10 p.m. And I'm like, Eric, that's crazy.
I know.
But the hours, my husband has four children, just like I do. We both have 4 children, and he can do bedtime by himself. He can do dinner by himself. Like, he's gotten so good at taking care of the kids by himself because we pass by each other sometimes at 5:30. I've gotten really good at from 2:30 to 4:30 or 5 is my time with the kids, but then it picks right back up again. And I am showing houses on the weekends. People don't realize that because they see me at the soccer game and they think I took the day off or I didn't have clients that day. I'm like, no, I'm like literally leaving the soccer game.
Yeah.
And I mapped it. I have 15 minutes to get there, So I just pop in and out of work on weekends. I do an open house, then I go to soccer, and then I have showings in the evening. We're writing offers. I've set boundaries for myself where I have pockets of time, like I won't write offers at dinner time anymore. I used to do that.
Yeah.
And that's stupid. But it's like I had to work through that one. My husband had to be really mad at me like so many times. But, I wouldn't be able to do any of that without Lee, without my spouse. But people don't realize that.
So I want to touch on that a little bit because I think this is the one. When someone asks me about getting in the business, I talk about what you just talked about. So I say, what is your home life like? Do you have support at home? And are they going to be, because it's a team effort between you and your husband. Jen and I, it's a team effort where you have to have support and a lot of understanding because we don't, close our computer at 5:00, come home and nobody reaches out to us. That's, if anything, that's when I'm busier, is in the evenings because now everyone else is off of work. So you have to have a lot of support at home. Did you, and Lee have to have that conversation? Did that ever, because again, it's teamwork. Like that's, even though he's not doing real estate, he's essentially doing real estate. Yeah.
I own a business. He's a business owner as well. So because I started my career in retail, I opened a boutique. So I have the cutest pictures of Lee like Swiffering the store, So he's always been like very on board with me being an entrepreneur. And he's been very supportive of me, He's used to I have to brain dump. I have all these amazing ideas, That's just been part of our lives together for the past, couple decades that we've been together now. So I think I don't know how I would do it without a spouse that's so supportive like that and so understanding of like what it means to be a business owner. I think in my world, I get a lot of moms or stay-at-home moms and that want to, do this part-time and they just want to make a little bit of income. And it's like, I'm not the person to speak to you about that because I'm not a part-time. I'm more than full-time, This is something that I do all the time. I like dream about real estate, it's tough to, give somebody advice who wants to jump in the business. But having a balanced home life is.
I think it's something that a lot of us overlook how important it actually is, and
Mm-hmm.
it's honestly the first question when Tom came to me or Skip and they
Yeah.
came to me asking me about. They were kind of caught off guard because that was my first question. Is like, does your spouse or significant other know that you're getting in this and what this means? Like,
Right.
because to me, that's I want to say the secret weapon, but it's kind of the piece that I feel like because the business is stressful enough,
Mm-hmm.
and if you're taking that stress and you're bringing it home, and then that is even more stress, and every time you do something, you're feeling guilty, you're never going to be good at either one because you're
Right.
basically battling both sides.
Right.
And I always like talking about it with people that are successful because I think it's the kind of the piece that we don't talk about enough is how much our significant others really
Right.
make the difference of what we do. Because I always say there's acceptance, there's a lot of patience and acceptance of, my wife will always takes a picture of me when I'm on my laptop at a pool, like on
Yeah.
vacation, because that's just, but it's like, I love what I do. Like
Right.
I'm present, but I'm also working
Yeah.
but
Well, I'd rather be working at a pool.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
If
Yeah,
it's either me
exactly.
working here or me working at a pool.
Exactly,
So.
exactly. So obviously important. The other thing I wanted to kind of go through real quick is just, and I don't want to spend too much on it because it's been talked about, a lot, but I feel like I already know the answer, but I just want to make sure we talk about it as NAR. I feel like everything we've just talked about with your process, buyer consultations, all these things really kind of fit into, kind of your business, and it all, probably very natural. But I guess the question I have is how much has your business really changed since NAR? Because I have a feeling it's not as much as most people would think. But then second of all, I feel like this is a professionals market. We talked about it a little bit, but I feel like this is where someone like yourself is really so much more valuable than you were even before NAR. Because now you're able to navigate not only where to find property, all these different things, but also negotiating contracts.
Yeah.
And I think that is someone who is in the business for 20 some years. The outcome that I see for every person, every realtor is not the same. I know people think that. There are just some people that are much better at negotiating and getting a buyer what they're looking for. So can you talk a little bit about how NAR has affected you, if any, and where you see the business going from here?
Sure. Yeah. So, NAR has forced my hand to do buyer's consultations, which I think has been the best thing for me because when I am working with a buyer now, they're my client. So I can dedicate the time necessary to them because we both signed a piece of paper that said, I'm your realtor, you're my client, we're doing this together. So I think just like the professionalism of we're on the same team here, we understand what we're doing is really crucial to like how my business has, I wouldn't even say changed, just, it's solidified what I'm doing here. I think it's the wild, wild west out there. I work really hard to maintain professionalism. I think there's a lot of realtors that do not know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And
we've seen it.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of pushback for my addendum of compensation, of other realtors not really knowing what to do with that. I've seen realtors think that whatever they put on the little board in the house that says seller is offering whatever percent, that means that that's it. And that's not how that works. This is a negotiation now, so I get to fight for myself and what my buyer has already agreed that my compensation will be. I think realtors who know what they're doing are going to make a lot more money.
I love that. I call it separation season is what I keep saying. And what I mean is it's separating the winners in the industry from the pretenders because, this is where all those people are going to start standing out.
Yeah.
A lot more. And I know that a lot of people don't like when you say that. It would make it assume that everybody has the same outcome, but it's not the same outcome. I see it every day. Is there anything that has surprised you, going in, that you see now that you maybe didn't expect to happen?
I just think the process of how we are negotiating our own compensation, it has been eye-opening. It's not at all what we were talking about. Like I mentioned, like a little sign on, the countertop that says seller is offering compensation. That's what we were all told was going to happen. And that is like the dumbest thing. I mean, it's just not necessary because it doesn't matter whether the seller is or isn't offering compensation. It's a negotiation. So I can still ask for it even if the seller doesn't.
Isn't that sign also doing the seller a disservice?
Exactly.
Because what if the buyer was willing to pay their own compensation?
Their own compensation.
And now when they see that sign. So for me, like, that's where my eyes have opened up a little bit,
Yes.
is that, and when it was explained that way, I was like, oh yeah, that makes more
Duh.
sense. And I feel like that's what's gotten lost. There's so much noise. The thing that I keep saying, I really feel like what the industry needs right now, even between lenders and realtors, is more synergy. So more, there's a lot of angst,
Yeah.
and it's at the end of the day, you talked about education, the consumer, where we're all kind of, upset about whatever. The consumer is over here like, I just want to buy a house.
Right.
And how do we get that? And that's the piece that I think needs the biggest focus going into next year is education. I think it's going to be the one piece that if you really want to separate yourself, if you can educate a buyer on how to win in today's market, and that's basically what it is, you're going to be well above everybody else. And I also feel like if you can help navigate a lot of the noise, because the media isn't going to help us, interest rates aren't going to help us. And I think you do a great job of doing all of that.
Yeah. I do think that what NAR has done, it's showed the consumer that we are hired professionals and you don't always get the same thing with who you're hiring. And so I think although they just want to buy a house, they have a choice in who they're hiring.
Yeah.
And how to get to the finish line, it does matter who you're with. So I think the NAR compensation, I hate that we focus so much on compensation, but we are worth something.
Yeah.
We're advisors, we're professionals. So I do think it's important to let the consumer know that, we do get paid for this. And we used to hide that, which is, it seems ridiculous now. We're only a couple of months on the other side of that.
Yeah.
That's like, why would we have ever hidden what our compensation was?
So great stuff. In the midst of all this, so you have COVID, you have NAR, DPG Real Estate decided to open up their own office. So let's just, let's kind of like add some, that's kind of, what was that process like? And was it always in the cards that this was the route? I mean, you had an office, but now you're really making it your own. What was that process like and evolution like?
So in 2020, my mom opened DPG Real Estate. And we do have an office in downtown Lisle currently. It's just, 1,200 square feet. It's really cute. She's done a great job of decorating and making it boutique-y. But, why not buy a building?
Exactly, yeah.
So that's been the project for about a year now, is we're right down the road, but there was an opportunity to buy a really nice looking building. It's big. It has space for us to grow. Although we don't have a lot of people at the moment, the 1,200 square feet we've already outgrown it,
Yeah.
So there's a lot of dreaming happening, I think, down at the place down the street of what we can do with this room and that room, because it's much bigger.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see, how we fill it. And
do you feel like having an office in, because obviously, some people are going the opposite way.
Yeah.
A lot of people are working from home. Do you feel like what this vision looks like is going to look very different than what maybe it would have been 5 years ago or 6 years ago?
Well, yeah, everybody has been wooed by these virtual, these virtual companies. And I think there's a place for that. I think there's a right person for that. I think, me and my mom, we're very social people. I think we thrive being around other people. I do buy into the thought that you are, who you surround yourself with. And I think this brokerage will not be 1,000 people big. I think this brokerage is going to remain a tight-knit group. We'll have numbers, but not the huge, big, brokerage that serves well online.
Well, and I think attraction is the key word. I think you're going to attract the people that, are going to fit the brand that you've built.
I do.
And I feel like that is going to be a great fit. I mean, as someone, I've been in, we're in our office every day. We're here for a reason because we want to be here. I have a great home office, but we enjoy being here because, again, to your point, it provides us instant reaction. We're around it. Like, I just need that feedback. Some people love working from home. I'm just not one of them.
I do not work from home.
Yeah.
My office is a playroom. So we have a home office, and it is literally, we made it into a playroom. So I can work at the kitchen counter, which we all know, like, how that
Yeah.
actually goes, but
Yeah.
there's no productivity happening for me at home. So I appreciate the office, but I appreciate seeing people in person. I
Yeah.
mean, we're such like an isolating industry
Yeah.
because we're all in our own brands, we're all in our own businesses, but I don't think that's what DPG is all about. I think we have a lot to share and to give, and it's a lot of collaboration. I'm excited to, fill the space with enjoy people and want to
Yeah.
grow and just be like good vibes for all. And I think
Do you have an ideal agent that you think would fit, or is there's not that?
that's not my role.
That's not your role? Okay, you're not going to be recruiting at all? You're going to have all these people that want to be like Kristi Gorski coming in, so you never know. Yeah.
I think I'm focused on building my own team.
Yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit. So is that kind of the evolution, the next big piece that you want to do is continue to grow your team?
Yeah, so I've been subscribed to this idea of like a micro team, and you hear about mega teams where there's, a lot of big production and then they are kind of like the rainmakers for the bottom. That's like not what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
My micro team is more, I'm the solo agent on top, and it's a very admin heavy team. I may have a buyer's agent or two. I currently have a showing agent, so
Okay.
assists me with showing. So I'm looking to grow on my admin side. Obviously, like I'm a mom of four, so the more I can delegate, the better.
Yeah.
But I still think it's important for me to be the face, the head, and the one interacting with clients
So
on
I
a daily
love
basis.
that because my team again would tell you that, I talk about this all the time. So building a team is always difficult, but I've seen a lot of people in the realtor space build teams, but then after it's all said and done, they're not the face of it. There's too many layers. And after you kind of pay out everybody, like it's not there. It's a struggle.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be a big transition about teams. And I love the way you laid it out. And we didn't talk about this, but that's exactly how I see the future of teams in real estate, because
we got to talk then.
well, no, I mean, I do, because I think it's really important, because I think a lot of people get it wrong. I think a lot of people are too heavy in staff. And it's, whenever you build a team, it's like, well, I don't want to do that, so I'm going to have someone else do it. I don't want to do this, so I'm going to have someone else do it. But the problem is your brand is you, and you can't, like, nobody's going to care about your business more than you do.
Right.
And when you start putting other people in there, it's hard to kind of carry that. It's something I struggle with, on a daily basis. You got to get people to buy into what you want to do, and that's really hard to find the right people.
Definitely.
But I think you hit on, you want to be the face of it. And I feel like that's the piece that gets lost in a lot of these large mega teams, is you don't know who the face is because there's so many different people along the way.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how the team I think it's going to change a lot. Do you feel like the model that you have it kind of figured out, or is this going to be something that you're just going to kind of
I've
learn
been
as you go?
working on it, but I'm slow to grow.
Yeah.
I have a lot on my own personal plate. So, the hiring process is hard.
Yeah.
It's like you have to be really dedicated to it. So I'm not going to be like expanding in a moment's notice.
Yeah.
But I've been building. I did hire a showing agent in March, and that she was my first real agent hire other than my admin. I do have marketing. I say I hire the people that marketing is like my strong suit.
Yeah,
so that was
yeah.
one of my first hires because I'm excited to like dump into that avenue, but I don't have the time to do all the ideas that are in my brain.
Yeah, that's
so
great. Yeah.
I really have focused on hiring in the lanes, I guess, that like I could give the energy to, but somebody else can take it and run with it.
I think the best team members that you hire are the ones that you can delegate the best to, meaning sometimes we ask someone to do something, but then we don't like the way it's done because we did a poor job of delegating that task. But when you're really good at marketing, it's very easy to delegate someone else to do that because you know exactly what you want.
Right.
And all really someone wants to know is, what exactly do you want, and let me deliver that. And when you can do that, I think it makes it a lot easier. And I always like the fact that if you do marketing, let's say 3 hours out of the day, and you have X amount of business. Now, if you can do it 8 hours a day because you have help, it should result in that much more business if you're doing it correctly. And that's where I think, marketing for me, hiring Mike on my team was probably one of the most, important hires I made, because it allowed me to get a lot more content and I wasn't spending so much time doing it.
Yeah.
So it is really important. So obviously, building a team is important, but you're also really, really good in the community. You guys do a great job in Lisle and Downers. Okay. So how much, thought goes into your presence in the community? Because I feel like both you and your mom have this great presence. I always see you doing stuff in the community. You're always volunteering. You're always doing these things, trick-or-treating, all these things and giving back. Like, how much of your business do you focus on that?
So that's a line on my marketing plan is, it's almost November, so I'm going to fill in everything for November, and I make sure that I'm doing some sort of community activity. I do have, I make sure I'm hitting school, and I make sure I'm hitting community, volunteering.
Yeah.
And then, there's different things I'm a part of organization-wise. Like, that's a line item. So I actually do, pretty strategically make sure that I'm hitting all the places that I want to be seen, because, you can join a club and then just never show up. But it's a line item on my marketing plan to make sure I signed up for something,
And I think it's good, for business, but I also think it's good just to be involved and be
100%.
like have other things than just what we do.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
I mean, what we do is so consuming. It's all consuming.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't you just want to trick or treat with your kids
Well,
sometimes?
and don't you feel like you're a better business owner when you have those outlets outside of work?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like when I do other things, I'm a better father, I'm a better husband when I have that outlet than if I'm just, nothing but work, because then I just want to like unwind and like sit in quiet for, but doing those other things I think are really important. And I think, you guys always have a good, handle on that. So I always respect that about that.
Yeah, that's what life is all about.
Yeah, no, exactly. So before we end, I want to kind of have a little bit of fun. Okay, so
This wasn't enough fun.
no, I know this is
Talking
fun.
about NAR and the market.
Lots of good stuff. But if you weren't in real estate, okay, and money wasn't, an object, where do you think your career would have taken you?
Oh my God, I would not work at all.
You wouldn't? Well, I like that answer. That actually, yeah.
No, I obviously retail was like my first love. I really fell into fashion and, I really like Instagram, social media. So I think I would always stay probably in like the creative world a little bit. But yeah, if money was no object, I don't think I would really like need to work. I'd probably volunteer.
Yeah.
I always say what I really want to do is work at Target.
There you go. See? There you go. See?
Like I just would just pick up a little job. I'd travel and I would just have fun.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's interesting because like, a lot of people, we're so in this business, but again, we all end up here by accident.
Yeah.
And we have all these other passions outside of work. And sometimes, it's funny to hear what people would have done out, because again, it's just, everyone makes fun of me because I wash my car. Like I never go to the car wash, but that's like my like time to just like I put on my,
That's what my husband, he's like mowing the lawn.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, get rid of the lawnmower. Like you do not have time to mow the lawn.
It's probably like an hour and a half to 2 hours where he's got a headset on, like, and it's just like
he will not have 2 hours to mow the lawn.
peace and quiet. Like I'm the same way. Like I like to be out there. So, well, I just want to say, thank you, Kristi. I feel like, it's been a pleasure to get to know you over the years and to see your business where it is today is not surprising at all. There's a lot of times I mention your business without mentioning your name just because I feel like you have it. Like, I think it's something that a lot of people can look at. And again, it's not easy, but I think the way you've built your business is the way most people, if you're going to be getting in the business, they should follow the blueprint of whatever you would share, as difficult as it was, because I feel like it's sustainable. There's a lot of people that get in and it's this. And I always feel like over the years, you've had this business that is something that is, it's very respectable, but it's also, even though you don't see the hard work behind it, I know looking at it, how much work you've put into it because of all the time you have to spend with your kids and everything else. And you share so much on social media about being a mom and you don't shy away from that. And I think there's plenty of women that follow you that are like, I want to be like her. Because you do such a great job. So I just want to thank you for that. And I appreciate you taking the time to, sit down with me. And it's been a pleasure. And I just, look forward to doing it again soon.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.